Hello everyone, TMMgamer, and today I have the pleasure of bringing you another video. However, today's video is going to be a little bit different in that it's a video response on a topic which has really flared up over the last week or so. And, my attention was really brought to it last night. I was sitting in bed, I was watching a few YouTube videos before I went to sleep, and I saw TotalBiscuit post that he was going to be streaming as part of a podcast hosted by Sessler, who's a very, very well-respected game critic and journalist. He's been around for a long, long time. And it was going to be talking about a contract offered by, well, it's a little bit uncertain who initiated it, but it was between Machinima and Microsoft, and it was basically offering increased YouTube earnings to people to promote Xbox One on the Machinima network. And basically all you do is you put a hashtag in your video and you'd earn increased money through doing that. So what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about that, talk about what happened, and tell you about my opinions and why I think it's a little bit dodgy the way they did it, and talk a little bit about promotions in general. But if you were like me and you didn't know anything about this at all, I strongly recommend you go and check out the original video. I have linked it, the first link in the description. Definitely go and check that out. Now, it's a really interesting discussion. They've got, obviously it's hosted by Sessler, they've got TotalBiscuit on there. They've got a journalist from Kotaku, they've got an industry PR executive who's worked with loads of big companies like EA, and they have a really interesting discussion about all the different facets of this argument, and they spend a good hour and I think hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes, perhaps even a bit longer talking about it. But if you don't have that much time to listen, in the first, say, 15-20 minutes, they get all of the core information out there for you, and then the rest of it's just debate. So if you haven't listened to that, I strongly advise you to check that out first. But just in case, I'll give a little quick overview of the basic situation. Now, like I mentioned, Machinima and Microsoft had come to a deal where if Machinima partners had promoted Xbox One using this hashtag, they would gain increased revenues. And basically, they did this through a website called PopTent, where basically they just sent out this promotion. Machinima sent out a bulk email to all of their partners explaining how they could earn more money doing this. And one of these YouTube partners, who's a small guy, I think he has averages about 400 views a video, noticed that there was nothing in this contract email that Machinima had sent out saying that the partners had to make it very explicit that this was a paid promotion. So obviously this has caused a little bit of a brouhaha, because it brought up a huge amount of questions about the role of YouTube. And obviously YouTube, well, it's not really a new media anymore. YouTube and YouTubing has been around for a long time, but people's opinions of it and people's appreciation of what goes on in YouTube still lags a long way behind. So all of these new ideas about whether this is acceptable or what lines can be drawn where, and the whole idea of promoting on YouTube has been sort of brought up by this case. And for me, I think the way Machinima have gone about this is incredibly dodgy, because in my opinion, you have to make it 100% explicitly clear that you are doing a paid promotion. If you don't, you are misleading your audience on quite a big level. Now, I'm going to go on to the whole who can do promotions and whether they're legitimate a little bit later. But as just a core ideal to start with, if you do go for a promotion, you have to completely show that and divulge that to your audience, because if you don't, you are misleading them. And the audience, you build up a relationship with your audience. A lot of YouTubers do, and this was something TotalBiscuit touched on in the debate that's linked in the description again, which I highly advise you to check out first, because I'm going to be referring a lot to their arguments through this video. But one thing TotalBiscuit mentioned was that a lot of YouTubers make sort of this parasocial relationship with their audiences, where the people watching the video see the YouTuber as, in inverted commas, a friend. So they watch them every day. They perhaps, the YouTuber will share a lot of their life with them. They'll do vlogs. They will, take a camera to the zoo whenever they go there, as well as doing their gaming stuff, etc. And that builds a very one-sided relationship between the YouTuber and the subscriber, because the YouTuber knows basically nothing about the individual subscriber. Possibly he remembers the YouTube name of a few of them if he's a huge channel. If you've got over 1 million subscribers, there's no way you're going to know much about any of them, really. But every single one of those YouTube subscribers will know a huge amount about the YouTuber, and they will get very, very involved in that person's life. And this is where the danger comes in. If that person who has got very involved in that YouTuber begins to see these promotions get put out, and the YouTuber isn't clear that they are promotions, this very, very one-sided, trusting, friendship-like, but it's not a friendship at all really, but friendship-like relationship can result in a huge amount of dodginess. Because if that YouTuber takes money for promotion and abuses this relationship he's built up with his subscribers, that can be very, very damaging in the long run, because it misleads a huge amount of consumers about the strengths and weaknesses of a game. And YouTube is such a massive market for gaming marketing now, because if you look at a huge gaming channel, I mean, TotalBiscuit is a prime example of this. Over 1 million subscribers. He is a well-respected games critic in the industry now, not just in YouTube, but in the whole gaming industry, because he has shown over a number of years that he is trustworthy, and he has a very, very calm demeanor where he separates his personality from his reviews. So he is a reviewer, and he's got in trouble before for being very, very blunt with his subscribers, but I think it's important that he maintains that relationship for him to be trustworthy. He is not someone who's very pally, and he's very, very professional in what he does, and that's important because it keeps very, very defined review and other content. If you look at someone, for example, like a Jesse Cox is a much more personable YouTuber, and I'm not saying TotalBiscuit isn't a nice guy. I'm sure he is a nice guy, and I really like his content. But Jesse Cox's YouTube content is completely different. That is Let's Play, where it's all about the person's personality and their humor and their voice and the interaction they have in the game. The best example of this is PewDiePie. PewDiePie plays games which most people would barely class as games, but because his personality appeals to people, he gets a lot of views for that. So there's a big difference between those people. The problem comes with where there's people in the middle. When there's a YouTuber who plays, for example, a first-person shooter, or plays a football game, or plays any game at all, and critiques that game, and critique and review aren't necessarily the same thing, but he passes an opinion upon that game. If that person begins to take money, is that right or is that wrong? This is the sort of grey area, because obviously a reviewer like TotalBiscuit, who sits down, does first impressions on games, gives his honest opinion, if he took money for a review to give it a positive spin or just for coverage, that would be dodgy. Is that guy in the middle just as dodgy for taking that? That's the sort of debating point around this. In my opinion, as long as that person is completely and utterly open, that's okay. I mean, I wouldn't trust a guy who took money to promote a game. If I'm looking for a new game to buy, I go to people that I know I can trust the reviews. So, for example, I have bought games because of the reviews TotalBiscuit has done. I've gone out and said, well, he thinks that game's decent. I quite like the look of that game. I'm going to buy it. I wouldn't necessarily trust the opinion of Jesse Cox on a game, not because I don't like his content, quite to the contrary. I really do like his content, but he isn't there to review a game for me. I don't trust him as a reviewer. I watch his videos because they're entertaining. You've got to differentiate between these people on YouTube, and this is the thing that I don't think publishers and YouTubers and viewers in general do. They see someone on YouTube say, hey guys, this is a great game, this is a really good game, it's cool, and they take what they say at face value without actually sitting down and thinking about whether that is a legitimate thing for them to say, or whether that person's viewpoint and opinion is 100% trustworthy, because they might be getting money on the side and all you see about it is a little Twitter hashtag in the bottom of the video, and there's no disclaimer thing at all. And this is where you've got to be very, very careful. For Machinima and for the Machinima partners who did this, I think the blame falls pretty squarely on Machinima here for not making it explicit in the contract that you had to disclose this as a promotion, because that is incredibly dodgy. I mean, I'm not a lawyer. But that does seem incredibly dodgy to me. So that's the first thing which is wrong with this, that this explicitly wasn't said, this is a promotion, this is a paid promotion. We are not just talking about Xbox because we like it. We are talking about it and giving it this positive review because we have been given money for it, and that is a big, big difference. Now, that's quite black and white in my opinion. The other side of things are just generally paid promotions within YouTube, whether they're wrong as a whole. And TotalBiscuit made another good example, you know, back in, I'd say probably about 4 or 5 months ago now. It was a fair time ago, but he participated in a pseudo, comedic remake of Pacific Rim with Guillermo del Toro. You know, that does not remove any legitimacy from TotalBiscuit's game reviews, does it? You know, that is him going out there and taking an opportunity that I think pretty much any of us would have taken. You know, if someone comes up to you and says, do you want to star in a remake of a film featuring a world-class actor and we'll pay you for the privilege, of course you're probably going to do that. You know, that's a really cool opportunity to have come your way. But the difference between that and the Machinima thing is TotalBiscuit is a games reviewer. You know, he has said many, many times that he has atrocious taste in films, and some of the films that he says he likes, I have seen, and they are fairly atrocious. Well, some of the Resident Evil films are a key example. It's like watching a slow car crash, and yet he seems to enjoy that. But, you know, that's fine. I don't go to TotalBiscuit's channel for movie critique. You know, I don't do that at all. I go there for gaming reviews. Having TotalBiscuit appear on a pseudo film remake is not going to remove any legitimacy from his channel, or it's not going to remove any of my trust from his personality, not at all. So those sort of things, they're okay, because let's be brutally honest, the vast majority of YouTubers out there do not make a whole lot of money. They don't. I mean, I would not be able to live in the million years of the amount of money I make, which is pretty paltry. But even going up to someone with 500,000 subscribers, the money they are making is nothing. If someone offers you $5,000, £5,000, however much it is, to do something like that, which isn't gonna, take away from your channel or whatever, you're probably going to take it because it helps pay the bills, it helps put food on the table, of course. So you can't be too harsh on people for doing stuff like that. The problem comes, back to the Machinima thing again, where it's very, very underhanded and targeted, because companies like that, they see younger YouTubers, and a lot of the YouTubers who get big are, between the ages of 13 to 18. They're not particularly world-wise. They get locked into a contract, and this is another thing that was mentioned on the podcast. Machinima have those endless contracts which lock you in, and they rely on, inexperienced or young people to go in, sign them without really reading them, and get suckered into it. And this is the sort of thing that paid promotion tries to do, because a lot of people, and another example that was given I think by Adam Sessler yesterday, was of a Battlefield 4 event where EA flew a lot of YouTubers out, sat them down with Battlefield 4 and basically said, there you go, play it, record it and get it up on your channel before anyone else does. And a lot of the older experienced gaming reviewers will see this as, possibly just another event. But for a younger guy who perhaps hasn't had EA or Activision or any other gaming company come to them and say, hey guys, come, we'll fly you out, we'll put you in a hotel, you can play our game 4 weeks before it's released and you can upload it to your channel exclusively, how cool's that? That might blow their minds just a little bit. And whether consciously or subconsciously, that may impact the review that they give or the opinion that they give. And this is the thing, I think the guy who actually came up with that point was the Kotaku journalist yesterday, and I cannot for the life of me remember his name, and I apologise, but I completely agree with that. I really do. There are a lot of YouTubers who've made their money and got successful by accident aged 16, and if EA fly you out to Hawaii to play Battlefield 4 or wherever it was, you are going to be consciously or subconsciously more likely to give that game a favourable review. And if you aren't, very, very explicit about, all the things that go on that can lead to very, very dodgy situations where you get to the point where you cannot trust certain people at face value. And this is really the key point about this. It's just the whole consumers being more aware argument. At the end of the day, the responsibility lies with the consumer. 100% it lies with the consumer. If you get suckered in by YouTubers or PR or anything, you've only got yourself to blame. You know, there are so many ways now for a consumer to go out there and find honest, unbiased review material for anything. Absolutely anything, be it a camera, a phone, a house, a game, anything. You know, you have to be a lot more selective on what you class as legitimate review material. I do not go, like, if I watched a PewDiePie video, I would not want him to give me game critique, because that's not what he does, that's not who he is. If I was looking for an opinion on a game that I was considering buying, I would go to someone like TotalBiscuit, because he has shown to me throughout years of high quality content that he, to me, is trustworthy. And this is the thing, yeah. Adam Sessler made this point yesterday. You know, as a consumer, you can trust someone until they show you that you can no longer trust them, and that is the key thing here. Consumers have to be a lot more savvy about what they do, and you know, I have been suckered in before. Oh, the key example of it is Mass Effect 3. You know, I got suckered hardcore into that game, which was just rubbish from EA. They really did screw over their fans in that game in a massive way, and I paid the penalty for that, because I'd forked out 50 quid for a game which had a terrible ending and had a core character removed at the start, and they expected me to pay £15 for a character who was absolutely central to the lore and should never have been removed from the game in the first place. And if I actually wanted to get the entire game, I would have had to pay thousands of dollars in pre-orders to hundreds of companies, because they gave exclusive little bonuses to every single company they're involved with. You know, that was just a car crash of a release, and I got punished for getting suckered into it. And this is the thing, you know, I have learned from being burned there, and you know, I managed to dodge the bullet of Aliens Colonial Marines. I dodged the bullet of hundreds of other games, because I didn't go out there and buy a game on release day. I watched trustworthy reviews, and I didn't trust game reviews from people who were there primarily for entertainment. And this is the thing, you know, this is why the whole underhanded Machinima thing, where they didn't make it completely disclosable, is a real problem. Because, like me in the past, lots of people are gonna get suckered because they don't know. Because they're 14, they're 15, they're watching their favourite YouTuber, and their favourite YouTuber says, hey guys, this game is cool. Little hashtag in the corner that they don't realise, and they go out and they spend 40 quid of their money on a game which turns out to be a turd. This is the huge problem. As long as promotions are very clear and they don't undermine the key YouTubers who are actually journalists. You know, if you're a YouTuber who does critique and then you take money off a company to give a favourable review, that is obviously completely wrong from a journalistic point of view, and very soon your subscribers and your audience will realise that you can no longer be trusted and move on. So whilst I have no problem with promotions in general, they have to be very clear, they have to be situationally chosen. There's no just one blanket rule for all promotions on YouTube. But I don't think anyone would argue against the fact that they have to be 100% above board, and there's just no way of getting around that. They have to be clear. The first line of the description has to be, hey guys, this is a paid promotion, or it has to be in the video, frame 1 of the video, this is a paid promotion, etc, etc. When it's underhand, when it's very dodgy like this Machinima example is, it's only going to lead to problems like this is done right here. So guys, thank you for listening. I really hope you've enjoyed me talking about this. Once again, I can only very strongly recommend you check out the original discussion. It's on Adam Sessler's channel. I think it's Rev3Gamer, I think, off the top of my head. But either way, I'm going to link that in the description. Definitely check that out. It really was worth a listen. It's very interesting points made. And it was actually quite interesting to have a PR executive in to talk about, you know, the opinions of the industry as a whole, and not just from a YouTube-centric point of view, but from more of a publisher point of view. So it was an interesting discussion, definitely. But once again, thank you so much for listening. I would be really interested to hear what you guys have to say on this as well. But once again, hope you guys are well, and have a good day.